probably have 8 offensive linemen they're comfortable with this season. And that's not even including guys that, we think potentially could play if need be, like a Lloyd Willis or Rod Orr. There are some nice depth pieces along this offensive line where, going into last season, those first 6 games, especially, Brendan, I kind of did a study about a month ago looking into the first half and the second half of the season, and they had only the same starting offensive line like combination from one game to the next once in that first 6 game stretch, which as good as your roster is, as good as the run game might be, as good as the play design might be, you just can't be successful if you're dealing with that much bad luck.
I was joking with, I think it was with Kev the other day in the group chat, and say we should just go through and do a story on the unfortunate luck of Mike Norvell in the first 2 years of his tenure at Florida State, and just even from the timing of taking over amid a pandemic, and this spring being the first spring. They've been here for 3 springs now. This is the first time they've been able to go out on the road and recruit and evaluate during spring football. Think about what a disadvantage that is. And then as you're trying to rebuild a roster, and this is a rebuild, make no mistake about it. But in terms of the offensive line, and you mentioned wide receivers too, for both those positions, Ben, I am a proponent of, if you have an issue, especially now in the transfer portal era, if you have problems, you can throw numbers at it. And really, this is an odds game. Recruiting, evaluation, even at the NFL level, a lot of times they'll tell you it's an odds game. It's why teams are valuing in the NFL 3rd, 4th round picks and stockpiling that, because at a certain point you can only evaluate so much better than another expert. It's about accumulating and throwing numbers at a problem. So at wide receiver, you had 4 transfers in the transfer portal, which was probably one of, if not the worst, wide receiving cores in the Power 5. Offensive line, you add 4 transfers in the transfer portal, as well as 6 true freshmen to the class. So 10 guys total. I did the math the other day. I think you added 3,300 pounds or something like that to the offensive line. And they signed more guys in this cycle on the offensive line than they did from 2017 to 2019 combined, or as many. And that's kind of when the offensive line started falling apart, right? You stop throwing numbers at it. It's you basically expose yourself to all these. You mentioned bad luck, if someone doesn't work out, if someone gets hurt, if someone has grade issues or whatever, you expose yourself to the elements of life of college football, which is injuries, grades, just all sorts of different stuff. So the offensive line, I will give the staff credit. I mean, I think there's issues on the recruiting trail, and they fell short of attaining star power in this past recruiting cycle. But in terms of having the self-awareness to know, these are positions of need, wide receiver and offensive line were rectified in that regard. Now we'll see how much of a hit rate you have on these transfers to potentially help you. But as we're talking about, just withstanding some bad luck, injuries, you do push yourself in a better position for sure, just based on sheer numbers.
Yeah.